Every student has an ID or file number. Your local AEA agency or school district will come up with that identification number for students. There are several types of IEP meetings. The first is the initial. An initial or full individual evaluation will be completed on every student. This determines the eligibility. The first IEP for every individual um, is developed by students, and it can be at the elementary, middle school, high school level. A review IEP includes where we go over all parts of a previously written IEP. That has to be done every school year. A review of an IEP must be held within 1 year of the date of the current IEP. A reevaluation has to be completed every 3 years, and the IEP has to determine whether or not more information is needed. A previously written IEP is being rewritten. A reevaluation IEP must include responses to 6 specific questions contained on page R. Your AEA will help you with this. This new IEP must be reviewed within 1 year of the date of the IEP meeting. The reevaluation process must be completed within 3 years of the date of this IEP. An interim IEP is a previously written IEP that is replaced on a short term basis by an interim. This is not something that I typically use. This may occur when an eligible individual moves into a new AEA and the current IEP is unavailable, or the IEP team determines it is necessary to temporarily provide special education as part of the evaluation process in order to identify appropriate services. You should not use an interim IEP for more than 30 school days. When we have move-in IEPs, the option is intended to be used when an eligible individual moves into Iowa from another state shortly before the fall count date. At other times, select another IEP meeting type. A move-in IEP provides the data necessary to include the child in the weighted count and allows the district and AEA to provide services comparable to those described in the child's IEP from the previous public agency. You want to give yourself enough time to be able to test the student and provide the proper services. A complete Iowa IEP must be developed as soon as practical. A move-in IEP requires completion of the family tab that I described in the previous slides. A 45-day trial out. An IEP team may elect to provide a trial out of part of the services or all of the services. When you choose this type of IEP, you are not going to get another notice. So if the trial out discontinues all services and supports, a reevaluation IEP meeting must be held within 45 school days of the initiation of the trial placement. The web IEP system will not prompt the user when the 45-day trial out placement ends. An amendment. A previously written IEP is being amended. The IEP is not being completely rewritten. For example, a goal area and services might be dropped, or a behavioral intervention plan might be added to the IEP. I typically use it when I have 4 data points above or below the aim line, and I need to contact parents to let them know that I need to change the student's goal. This may be done with or without a meeting. Selecting amendment unlocks the IEP being amended and allows the IEP to be changed, except for the duration to date. You will still have the IEP to the end date. In addition to making the amendments within the IEP, complete a prior written notice to communicate the IEP changes to the parent. And then amend the IEP. It doesn't change the annual review or the reevaluation. If an IEP was written in October and the amended the following April, you still have your annual review in October. The teacher service provider, you just identified the proper providers on the IEP. So that would be me when I write the IEP. Duration of the IEP, specify the date the IEP will go into effect and the date it is anticipated to end. The duration may be less than 1 year, but never more. I typically don't ever write it for that. Reasons for a duration of less than 1 year may include the graduation of the student, anticipated change in program, 45-day trial out, 45-day alternative placement, short-term hospitalization. So then you just specify the beginning date and the ending date on page F. Reevaluation is due. Specify the date by which the reevaluation must occur. The reevaluation process must be completed within 3 years of the initial IEP and the last reevaluation IEP date. So if you have your review due and a reevaluation due, you're going to complete the reevaluation even if that review is due um, a little later or sooner. You're going to make sure, because you don't want to do both IEPs. So if one is due in April and one is due in May, I'm going to go ahead and do that reevaluation in April. Procedural safeguards were reviewed by. Parents must be offered a printed copy of their procedural safeguards at least once a year. A copy could be provided with the IEP meeting notice or at the IEP. Complete this item with the name of the individual who has reviewed rights and has assured that the parents have a copy. You also need to mark on the IEP whether they took it or not. You actually have to check mark that now. Indicate the method used, whether it was letter, phone, in person. Accept or decline the printed copy, as I just stated. Parents may accept or decline. The rights will transfer at age 18. The requirement stated beginning no later than 1 year before the child reaches the age of majority in Iowa 18th birthday, date of marriage or date of prison term. The IEP must include a statement that the child has been informed of the child's rights under page or Part B of IDEA, if any, that will transfer to the child on reaching the age of majority. There are some students that their parents have guardianship after age 18. If that happens, you have to have proof of that within their file. Student and parent notification. The Web IEP requires that these items must be completed for all transition age students. The notification requirement applies to IEPs written prior to and during the year that a student is 16 years old. Do not change this date on IEPs written at age 17 or above. Changing the date gives the appearance that this was given at least 1 year prior to the transfer of rights. Many times this happens way before then. Consent to receive electronic communication. If you're going to communicate with parents via email, this has to be done. You can send their updates via email. You can send meeting notices, but you have to have this in place. Persons present at meeting, position or relationship to student. This item communicates only that these persons attend the meeting and does not indicate agreement or disagreement with the IEP. This item may be completed by the person acting as recorder for the meeting. This is always done ahead of time. Students must be invited to their IEP meeting if the purpose of the meeting is consideration of post-secondary goals and needed transitions. If the student does not attend, steps must be taken to ensure that the individual's preferences and interests are considered in the development of the IEP. Within these modules, I have a lot of strengths, interests, and preferences, as well as transition inventories. Also, with the parent of an age majority student consent, any agency likely to be responsible for providing or paying for transition services must be invited to the meeting. Parents are also welcome to invite anybody else that they would choose. Amending an IEP without a meeting. When an IEP is being amended, you will be asked by the Web IEP if a meeting will be held. An amendment to the IEP may be developed without a meeting when doing so has been agreed upon by the parents. When no meeting is held, the IEP documents this agreement rather than persons present by noting the person who contacted the parent, the method of contact, and the date of the agreement. This will always include the parents, but it can include general education teachers, administrators, AEA support staff. The duration of an amended IEP remains the same as the existing IEP. The prior written notice form is used to provide the parents with a summary of the exact specific changes made through the amendment and to provide the rationale and the data that support the changes. So you always include why you made those changes. Outside written input. Outside sources do not include school or AEA personnel. Identify any sources of written information that is being considered in development of this IEP. Your physicians, clinics, etc. It could be your voc rehab. The outside report itself. Follow your AEA's protocol for maintaining outside written reports. On tab A, identify any source other than the school or AEA personnel of written information that is being considered in the development. Many times I have doctor's information, and then you just mark that on there. Other locations determine the best fit for the other information. If the information is a foundation for the need for adaptations or accommodations, then just summarize the relevant information and document that the information was received and considered. You could also put information on page I if the team wishes to use this location to summarize relevant information and document that the information was received. Page R is reevaluation questions, and if the information is relevant to one or more reevaluation items. Transition assessments, if the information is relevant to one or more of those items. Current academic achievement and functional performance, if the information is a foundation for a goal or service. These are not exhaustive, and other IEP locations may be the best place depending on the nature and relevance of the items. I hope that this is helpful. Please feel free to go to this resource as it has a plethora of information.